I'm working on a game called Floating in Space. It's a cozy open-world survival game where you explore zero gravity as an astronaut. I've been working on this game for about a year now, and in this video I'll show you what I've accomplished so far. Have fun! Outer space is, most likely, soothingly silent and empty. Somehow a perfect place to let your thoughts drift and relax a little bit after a hard day of work. Yet, it's mysterious and most of it is not explored or fully understood by science. This encourages the imagination of what could still be discovered in the coming decades and centuries. Combining these two aspects, being far away and leaving the everyday struggle behind, as well as revealing exciting mysteries out there, are driving me forward in this journey. The journey of creating something that brings joy to other people and makes them happy for a little while. It all started as a turn-based strategy game on a hexagonal grid. I was playing a lot of Civilization 6 at the time, and the gameplay was obviously inspired by that game. It was all about avoiding asteroids, collecting oxygen, and finding a survival capsule. With this capsule, you could mine the asteroids, do some initial research, and find a bigger spaceship to build a nuclear fusion reactor, enabling a hyperspace jump. At this point, I had a much more scientific approach to the game, and the fictional parts were not fully matured yet. I used CodeMonkey's turn-based strategy game tutorial to accomplish this. A great tutorial that I will link in the description. Pretty quickly, I realized that moving on a grid while being lost in space didn't match very well, at least not to me. Therefore, I introduced a movement range in which the player can move freely by clicking where the astronaut should fly to. But that movement system was only there for a couple of weeks. It's actually not very fun to click and watch the astronaut magically move from one point to another over and over again. It felt boring and not challenging at all. I was also never happy with the fact that the astronaut stops after every move, although a force in zero gravity, once it's applied, should keep going on until it gets stopped again. That's when the current movement system was born. It makes navigation around much more challenging, and with the ragdoll components on the extremities, it's even fun to play around with. Besides the player movement, I developed many other systems too. Let's have a look at the item spawn system first. Most of the items in the 3D space spawn randomly. There's an invisible grid system underneath, and every time the astronaut enters a new grid cell, the system checks if there's a cell type assigned already. If not, it goes through all possible cell types and checks if the conditions of each cell type are met. The valid cells remain in the pool, while the others are sorted out. Then it randomly chooses one of the valid cell types and assigns it to the specific cell. This type will stay the same even if the astronaut leaves and enters again. The cell type contains a list of items that now spawn within a certain radius around the astronaut. If the items are too far away, they get deleted and will be replaced by others within the radius until a maximum number of items is met. It was very challenging to create the inventory system with drag and drop functionality, stacking and unstacking items, and placing them wherever I want. But this was mostly due to my lack of experience, because in the end it was not very much code, and Unity has great supporting tools for these kinds of things. And likely many others I don't know about yet. But like many things, it was a great learning experience, and I love learning new things. The second most important system is the crafting system, and that was a bit more complicated to get to work properly. Every item is created as a scriptable object with an array of 7 other items in it. This forms the recipe to craft this specific item. If the list is empty, the item cannot be crafted at all. If there are conditions to craft the item, the logic in the background checks if all the conditions are met. These conditions can include researching, equipment, or progression requirements. This list on the item itself allows me to use the recipe as a blueprint in other situations too, like in descriptions or the tech tree. Scriptable objects are great for inventory and crafting systems. I've also reused them in every other system, including picking up items from the 3D world and bringing them into the inventory. The third system is the research system. In Floating in Space, there's a resource called nanobots needed to research all kinds of things. The idea is that these nanobots can be injected into the astronaut's body. They travel to the brain and build a microchip that provide you with the knowledge needed to build the specific item you need. These nanobots can either be found in space or later produced in the spaceship the astronaut builds himself. Speaking of which, the next system is the spaceship building system. This one was fully developed but not yet reintegrated into the game after I reworked the whole UI. But I thought I'd cover it quickly and get back more in depth once it's reintegrated. The player crafts different parts of the spaceship, each with a specific role, like storing more items, maneuvering, or having a radar. These parts can be snapped together in various ways, so everyone can design and personalize their own spaceship. The last system I want to cover is the astronaut's equipment system. There are several upgrades the player can craft to improve the spacesuit, such as maneuver engine or insulation for cold protection. In the equipment window, besides the slots for the upgrades, there's an image of the astronaut. In a later stage of development, it will show all the equipped items on the spacesuit directly in 3D. There are still many exciting developments on the horizon. I'm constantly working on improving and adding new features based on feedback and my own ideas. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these systems too. Drop your suggestions in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates. Thanks and goodbye.